It's time to duel, some of the most iconic words in Yu-Gi-Oh! And in anime in general, no doubt because of the English theme song. Normally in anime, the original Japanese version is going to have a licensed song that's set to a good amount of the footage, but when it came to the dubs for a lot of kids anime or teen anime re-edited to be kids anime, they would create their own original theme song. This is a lost art that we don't really see a whole lot of nowadays because most anime is streamed and is able to maintain the original opening, and a lot of the modern English theme songs that we see for anime are reserved for the kids anime like Pokémon and Beyblade, and sort of technically Yu-Gi-Oh! Though there was a whole downfall that we'll get to, trust me, but because English theme songs were such a big part of early anime, they've become iconic in their own right. So yeah, that's what I'm gonna do today. We're just gonna talk about all of the theme songs for Yu-Gi-Oh! Throughout the years, and maybe not rank them exactly, but you will definitely see that they started great, and by the end, like I said, we'll get to it. So what better way to start things off than with the original theme song for Yu-Gi-Oh! Duel Monsters. Now there were actually a few different versions of this opening, mostly the different versions with footage depending on the season, and in the beginning there was a bit of the opening dedicated to setting the scene and giving you some backstory of where we are now, and Season 3's theme song is a little weird, they make some changes in a bad way, but overall the song that you hear through most of the Duel Monsters anime is a really good one, starting off very Egyptian sounding before getting really funky, having a lot of strong bass. There's the iconic breakdown where Yugi is like, it's time to do, you know that one, before eventually ending with a very cinematic, uplifting sound that I think really encapsulates the entirety of the series. While this theme song doesn't really have any lyrics per se, there are some vocals here and there of a guy saying Yu-Gi-Oh! And then if you want to count the remix portion, I guess that's something, but really it is very different from many of the other English theme songs of the time, so it helps it stand out and does make it very timeless. That's the reason why we still remember it today. So I will say very different and not normally what I would personally enjoy out of an English theme song for an anime, but it is really good for what it accomplishes, and yes, like I said, very iconic part of Yu-Gi-Oh! Today. Then we move on to Yu-Gi-Oh! GX, and this one is very traditional, being an original song written for the Yu-Gi-Oh! Anime, very much in a similar style to other theme songs of a time. This one, though, definitely being a lot more pop-punk, and that's probably why I really like it, because my favorite genre of music, but I think it really does fit the Yu-Gi-Oh! GX anime tone-wise, and shows how it's different from Duel Monsters, in how maybe there's not necessarily a giant world-ending threat just yet. I know in the later seasons of GX it gets pretty crazy, but generally the vibe of early Yu-Gi-Oh! GX really is one about chilling out with the crew at the schoolyard, wanting to hang out with your friends, play some Yu-Gi-Oh!, make the grade, and, you know, do cool Duel Monster stuff. So I do think that for this one being the first full song with lyrics and that is originally written for Yu-Gi-Oh!, even including the word Yu-Gi-Oh! In the lyrics at some point, it's done really well, and like I said, I think it really does fit the two different theme songs and how contrasting they are for each series while still all being part of the same thing. Personally, I really do jam along to this one a bit more, mostly because you can actually sing along to it, and if anything, I feel like it maybe is a little bit underrated. The point is that those first two theme songs combined are a really good start for the anime. Then we move on to Yu-Gi-Oh! 5Ds, and oh boy, this is it, Hyperdrive, the one that for a while everybody said was the best opening, and I agree that it is really good, though over time I think that maybe I have some other ones that I like a little more, but I can't deny that Hyperdrive is really fun. Yu-Gi-Oh! 5Ds though actually is one that is pretty well known by the fans for having multiple different theme songs that we were able to vote for. You know, I was too young so I didn't vote, but other fans were able to vote for, and those songs are out there, you can listen to them, but generally I think that Hyperdrive was the right choice, maybe aside from like We Fight to Survive, I think that was the title of it. That one's really good. It's a lot heavier, a lot quicker and faster, but I think Hyperdrive fits having a beginning of that electric guitar, setting things up with the motorcycle races, and then it gets kind of flowy, and it fits a lot of the visuals as well, though generally maybe not necessarily the tone and the vibe of the anime early on at least, because, you know, having a little bit more of a grittier protagonist as opposed to the previous series, and then also just kind of having a setting that is maybe not super friendly, and some of the episodes that they get into, the setting also, you know, not very cool and fun and friendly, but I think that generally Hyperdrive really does fit, and I would describe it this way, is that Hyperdrive as a song is what Stardust Dragon is as a monster. If that makes any sense, I think that those two are a really good perfect match, and it is a really good entry for the middle point of the Yu-Gi-Oh! Anime. Now we move on to Yu-Gi-Oh! Zexal, which does actually have two different English theme songs, something that no other Yu-Gi-Oh! Series gets. I know that, again, in Japanese, most of the anime are going to be getting different songs just about every season, but that is something that we saw carry over into Yu-Gi-Oh! Zexal here. So the first song being Take a Chance is really good. I'm a big fan of this one. I think that it really does fit the vibe of a brand new era of Yu-Gi-Oh! Coming off of the Bonds Beyond Time guys, and then basically kind of restarting and rebooting things in a way, but having this different art style, a bit in the animation, a little brighter here and there, and generally the tone and the setting of Yu-Gi-Oh! Zexal. This one really does fit. I love too how some of the original lyrics include the phrase "Hi-Fi the Sky," which is the English translated catchphrase of the main protagonist Yuma. Again, mostly still being built off of electric guitar in the song, and then having that really nice floaty bridge. I'm a big fan of that as well. And at the risk of repeating myself, I'm gonna say that this song really does feel the same way that Utopia as a Monster feels. I don't know, I would say that that's kind of only the case at least for Hyperdrive and then Take a Chance. So yeah, personally, I would put Take a Chance pretty high up. Then we get to the second theme song for Yu-Gi-Oh! Zexal, and that is going to be Halfway to Forever. And I used to not be the biggest fan of this song at first, because of how different it was, and I felt like it just kind of like didn't maintain the same momentum as the previous one. This one's still fine though after I've had more repeated listenings to it, and I do enjoy it, though I think that also for how Yu-Gi-Oh! Zexal gets later in its second half with the subject matter, a little more serious, some higher stakes, a little more galactic as well, I think that maybe we could have had a theme song that reflected that a little better in terms of the feeling, in terms of the lyrics and the general tone. Maybe something, you know, not like super serious sounding, but maybe not just something that felt like an inferior repeat of Take a Chance. And, you know, I might get hate for, you know, disliking this song. I don't know what the general feeling about it is, but those are at least my thoughts. Then we move on to Yu-Gi-Oh! Arc 5, Arc V. I've actually never watched this series, so let me know which one it's supposed to be. But the original theme song for this one is actually really good. The title for this one is Can You Feel the Power? And generally it does keep some similar tones. This one has a bit more of a hip-hop feeling, but generally is still a pretty, like, regular and run-of-the-mill anime theme song, though definitely just a bit newer than the previous ones in terms of style. I am actually a fan of the lyrics here. I think they're pretty well done and has a nice feeling to it. It's very fun, and I guess it fits the theming of the entertainment duels that we see in the anime. Again, let me know if this is one I should check out. But yeah, like I said, at one point the lyrics go something like, activate the spell, let your powers come to life, it's showtime. Who will win the fight? I think it's something like that. It's really good though. I recommend listening to that one, and though it's a pretty good one, however, it is the last regular theme song, the last one that we have with lyrics for Yu-Gi-Oh! And I know we didn't start with lyrics when it came to the original Duel Monsters, but as we move forward, I think they really could have benefited from some, because then we move on to Yu-Gi-Oh! Vrains, another one that I haven't seen, and the theme song for this one is okay. It's all instrumental. I think the beginning is honestly really weak. By the end of it, it picks up and it starts to sound a little like a Master Duel song, which I say as a compliment, but overall it really just doesn't leave that much of an impression. Then we move on to the Rush era of the Yu-Gi-Oh! Anime with Sevens and Go Rush, and I'm just gonna say it, they have instrumental theme songs, and they're okay. Sevens, though, I will say that this is an anime I watched as it was airing in Japanese, so I got really used to the Japanese theme song. That's not necessarily something I'm going to bring up for all the other entries because you know, I didn't really experience it, but I will say that generally there was a pretty decent bar set with the Sevens theme song. That was an original song, and it really just encapsulated the series with how upbeat and how jazzy it was. And then going from that to the really generic sounding music that they use for the Yu-Gi-Oh! 7's dub is just like, it's night and day. This one has just none of that same feeling, and the beginning is also, again, very, like, a little weak and super generic. It also doesn't really use all that much of, like, electric guitar, and I'm not saying that that's something you need for Yu-Gi-Oh!, but I think generally when you have that sort of vibe for a lot of the previous series, and then you just have this, like, super electronic poppy sounding, and not in a good way at all, theme song, it almost feels like it should have had the lyrics, just the way that the track is, because it doesn't feel all that impactful otherwise. So in all honesty, yes, I will say that unfortunately this one is the absolute worst of the dub theme songs. Though when we move on to Yu-Gi-Oh! Go Rush, that one is a pretty big improvement, still instrumental, but I think that the feeling of a song fits the series a little more. It doesn't necessarily sound like super galactic in a way, or, you know, in a way that like maybe the Japanese opening felt, but it really does feel a bit more exciting as opposed to the last two. So this one, I will say, is one of the better instrumental theme songs. Still, technically, the Duel Monsters one is the best instrumental theme song just because of the different layers that it took you through. Somebody still said something again, you know, someone said Yu-Gi-Oh, someone said it's time to duel, so I guess that counts. But I will say, once again, it does feel a little weird because if you listen to the Go Rush theme song, it almost does sound like, maybe I'm crazy, but it almost does sound like there were supposed to be lyrics and this is just the instrumental track and they forgot to layer the vocals over it. Overall, with the recent Yu-Gi-Oh dub anime theme songs, this does follow a similar trend to other shows and animations that we were seeing around this time, though mostly from the Western world. They all had theme songs with no lyrics, and for the most part they were kind of starting to get a bit shorter. Like I said, this is a trend that moved over to Yu-Gi-Oh, which is really weird because a lot of the other kids anime contemporaries, like Pokemon, like Beyblade, they still have original songs being made. You know, I'll watch the Pokemon anime for the main channel once in a while, and I'll watch the dub because it's easier to catch up on. You know, I don't know what's going on with Yu-Gi-Oh. Then again, honestly, not much is going on with Yu-Gi-Oh because we have like no anime right now, so maybe when we get to the point where there's a new weekly anime again for the Yu-Gi-Oh card game, then when it comes time to dub it, maybe they'll have time to reevaluate things, maybe they'll be able to get some original songs made for it, and we can get back to how things were. But for now, that was my discussion about the theme songs in the Yu-Gi-Oh anime, and like I said, it is kind of a fall off, so I get my cool clickbaity title. But let me know what you think in the comments below. Which of these is your favorite? Like I said, I think that at some points they got a little better before just kind of being, I'll say it, a bit nothing. Also, let me know what you want to see for the future of Yu-Gi-Oh! And if you want to see more videos like this with this whole setup, let me know. Though, you know, give me some time. This is like the third time I'm recording this. The first time I was a little shaky. The second time was pretty good, but I used the wrong mic. Hopefully now we're using the right mic, so it actually sounds decent, and you know, this video will see the light of day. So if you enjoyed watching, leave a like, subscribe, how about the video, all that cool stuff. Anyway, this is GatorX, and I will catch you all later.